We are running a little bit behind schedule, but you and I wouldn't be here if had there been no mothers or no women. And because women are such a powerful force of the world, let's give them more time, right? So bear with me. The next speaker will talk, she's introduced herself, Sonica Aron, on what women entrepreneurs, how she's helping women entrepreneurs to become better. A small story I can tell you. So one of the richest businesswomen in UK is a lady who used to pack samosas and Indian delicacies along with her husband, and they became so popular that the husband said, why don't you open a restaurant? So she's opened a restaurant in England, which is so famous and made her richer, far more richer than her own husband. So that's the women entrepreneurship power. And Sonica, very appropriately, creatively named organization she runs is Marching Sheep. And she's into HR consulting and shepherding the world.
I've been told that I am standing between you and the lunch. So I'm going to try to be brief and funny. Oh, so I'm the appetizer. Okay. All right, so for those who missed my introduction in the morning, my name is Sonica Aron, and I run a company called Marching Sheep, which I founded in the year 2013. Prior to that, I was heading HR for Philips in India, so I have been an HR professional now for almost 20 years. At Marching Sheep, we specialize in diversity and inclusion. So when Talis and I were speaking and we were discussing on what topic should I speak about, and he said, discuss your story. Talk about your life and your story as an entrepreneur. And I told him that, Talis, my life is very ordinary. It is something that every woman goes through. And as I said those words, the question that popped in my mind was, why should every woman go through it? Are we also conditioned to accept the gender bias which is running so deep in the society that we consider it normal? So here I'm going to start with my story. So while Marching Sheep came about in 2013, the seeds were sown in way back 1980s. So I come from a very educated family. My father was a plastic surgeon. My mother is a practicing gynecologist at the age of 83. My brother and brother-in-law are both urologists. My sister was a homemaker for the longest time, and she now is in the horticulture space and makes green spaces. I remember that when I was about 5 years old, my grandmother, maternal grandmother, God bless her soul, she took a paratha from my plate and gave it to my male cousin. And my male cousin sniggered. At 5, I was probably too young to understand what gender bias is and what was happening. But at 12, I was not. And I spoke up, and I fought. And you know what? My mother was shocked. And she was not shocked at what was happening. She was shocked at, why are you saying this about Nani? Badon ki izzat karni chahiye. Kya ho gaya? Why are you making a mountain out of a molehill? But my father heard, and thankfully the gender bias behavior at home stopped. What I learned at that early age was speak up. Firdaus, what you said, speak up. If you don't speak up, how is the world going to know that what is happening is wrong? Let's move on. After class 10th, my parents took a decision for me. Our daughter will be a doctor. Why? Because medicine is a safe profession for girls. Safe profession. How many of us have been told, is what you're doing appropriate for girls? Factory mein kaam karoge? Sales? Really? Entrepreneur, do you know that you'll have to step out every day and get business, get a job? Who decides these norms? What is right for girls and what is not right for girls? Anyways, coming back to my story, so I had biology in class 11th, and I had to dissect a rat. As I approached the table, I fainted. And with that, crashed all my parents' dreams of seeing me as a doctor. But then came the dilemma. What will she do? That was the year when Sushmita Sen was Miss Universe, Aishwarya Rai was Miss World, and Manpreet Brar was Miss India. Manpreet Brar had passed out of Lady Irwin College Home Science. So my mother comes and says, Munna, home science kar le. And that is when I heard my dreams crash. And what were my dreams? Go to North Campus, DU, make a boyfriend or two, bunk all classes, and have a blast. So I tell my parents that, listen, Lady Irwin College does not feature in my dreams. So they said, okay, next best, go to LSR. Didi ne bhi wahan se kiya tha. So now what do I say? So I go for the interview, and thankfully I go for the interview alone. I go inside and I get admission. Now, I do not prescribe to anybody what I did next. I came out and I told my parents, nahi hua. And I went and I got admitted in Hansraj College, in North Campus, in Maths Honors, and I went on to have a whale of a time for the next 3 years. Then comes the third year, and then I see the sword of marriage hanging over my head. Now what? A lot of my batchmates were filling up forms. So unki dekha dekhi, I also filled up the forms. And I got a call from 3 colleges, one in Delhi, one in Pune, and one in Jamshedpur. Again, my mother says, beta, Delhi wala le lo, ladke milne mein aasani hoegi. I pack up my bags and I go far away to Jamshedpur. So I graduated from XLRI Jamshedpur, and my journey with HR started then. The point I am making with all this is, even in the most progressive families, where women or girl child is loved and educated, the focus on household management and the right time to get married and the right profession for quote-unquote girls never wavers. This is social conditioning which boxes us and expects us to behave in manners which is suitable to the society, but need not be in line with what I want to do. What I learned then is that go ahead and do what you believe is right, things will fall in place. When a child is born, he or she doesn't know whether it is a boy or a girl. They start to get cues from the environment. Boys have blue, girls have pink. Toys, guns and blocks for boys, dolls for girls. Extracurriculars, tennis and soccer for boys, art and craft and dance for girls. Children see their parents at home. They see their mother cook, whether a homemaker or a working professional. And they imbibe this culture. They imbibe these values, and they demonstrate the same 20 years later at home and in the workplace. Let me now take you to examples from the workplace. After I completed XLRI, I joined a blue chip FMCG company. And I was placed in a factory where there were 99 workmen and 32 staff, all men. I was young. I wanted to prove myself. I was motivated. I was raring to go. So I was all over the place. One day, I get a call from my VP HR from Gurgaon, who happens to be a lady. And she says, do you know that there is graffiti about you in the restroom? Do you know that people think you are in a relationship with the plant manager? Think about it. I'm talking about 18 years back. There was no awareness of Vishakha guidelines. There was no POSH. In today's time and date, this was hostile work environment, and I would have been in my right to lodge a complaint, not just against the men who were doing graffiti, but against the VPHR as well, who did not understand the nuances of sexual harassment. And hence today, Marching Sheep works a lot in the space of POSH because we believe it is not just the act, it is the mindset of people that needs to change. About 18 months back, I was speaking to this IT head in a manufacturing company again, and I asked him, why don't you have women in your team? So he said, Madam, I am not against diversity. In fact, I had a team member, and out of courtesy, I dropped her home on a couple of occasions. And there was gossip in the team. I don't want anyone to go through it, and so I don't hire women. And the first thing that struck me, 18 saal mein kuch nahi badla kya? And how do we drive this change? The act came out in 2013. It's 2019. How do we drive this change? Another incident that stays with me is many years later, again, a lady manager would question my commitment to work because I would insist on dropping my 2-year-old son to the play school. And her point was, you can't be seen different from the others. And I think somebody spoke, right? Mere kaam ko dekho, mere time ko na dekho. And that used to be my question to her as well. And to which she said, listen, I left my child somewhere in Pune for 8 years while I worked in Bombay. Why do you have to be around your child all the time? So my next question to her was, do I need to be like you to become a leader? And if I extend this definition, how many of us believe that we have to behave like men to become leaders? What is the ideal definition of a leader? When you think of a leader, what is the vision that comes to your mind? And how are we breaking this stereotype? Recently, one of management trainees in one of my clients' locations said, ma'am, I don't see any leaders who are women at the top. And if I see, they are all single, or not married, or don't have children. Does that mean that I have to forego my visions of a normal life to become a leader? Can you imagine the implications on society of this kind of thinking? And that is where we as Marching Sheep advise organizations that focusing on number, on acquiring, is not going to be enough. You need to create an ecosystem that helps women retain and grow through the organization. With that, I come to the end. Sorry, Anshumali, just 2 more minutes. When I started Marching Sheep in 2013, I was an HR professional. I did not know how to do business, right? And I did not know sales. I did not know sales funnel. So what do? So I called up an ex-boss of mine, chewed his brains for 6 months, literally chewed his brains for 6 months, and he was kind enough to coach me for 6 months. And today, I stand in front of you, 5 feet nothing. I grew by 40% last year. We have similar ambitions this year. Some of our clients include Sterlite Power, JCB India, SBI Cards, Clifford Chance. And we are seen as a thought leader when it comes to diversity and inclusion. We have written on topics like motherhood penalty, unpaid work, and you can check us out on Marching Sheep page on Facebook and LinkedIn. Having said that, I would just like to summarize the 4 learnings before I wrap up. Irrespective of where we come from, which social strata we come from, which region we come from, gender bias exists. Let's face it, and let's deal with it like a business problem. Speak up. Not speaking up is not an option. Third, listen to what you want to do. Unsolicited advice, Sunanda is not here in the room, but unsolicited advice, hogi, but listen to what you want to do. And lastly, look for your support system. Family, mentors, friend, mother, mother-in-law, shamelessly ask for it. And rest, we are on a journey. Thank you so much for being an awesome, awesome audience. And I look forward to networking with you all over lunch. And sorry for overshooting my time.
Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to India's first corporate news channel. We invite interviews, articles, press releases from your organization. Visit our portal www.indianconventions.com. Thank you.